Welcome to History Roundtable. Guess what?
What is in the tray today?
So, Sean and Sean, here we are. So, obviously, these are clay pipes. And for those who don't know what they're looking at here, and these stems originally could extend out maybe 20 inches from the bowl. And people ask, well, why is that?
Like one of those over there.
Right. So there's a whole, some of them are complete, but most of the examples you find at archaeological sites are just the bowl or parts of the bowl. And the reason for the long stem was that there would be a buildup of the tars and whatnot from the tobacco, and it would plug up the end of the pipe. So they'd simply just break off the end and keep on going, and they'd work that stem all the way to the bowl and then throw the bowl away. So here are remnants of these colonial period clay pipes. This one here is very, very early, 16th century, so probably mid 1550s. And then the progression, and the form of the bowl and the stem can date as the styles changed over time. So this one here, right at that turn, the 1680s to about 1700. Now this one is very, very unique, and this is where this is all leading. The bowl is entirely made of silver, but it's what's written on the bowl. So you're gonna have to come closer here. Tony, our camera op, is gonna zoom in, and what is depicted here but a skull and crossbones. And this is in the realm of Memento Mori. And Memento Mori is to basically remind all of us that death is around the corner, so make the best of life as you are living. So you'll see a lot of old colonial tombstones with a skull and crossbones on it. That, to most people, including myself when I was growing up, I thought, hey, that denotes that guy was a pirate. No, that is a symbol that, hey, death is always around the corner, so make the best of life. But what's really cool on this is a date. And what does that date say?
Well, let me see here. It looks to me that we have 1719.
There was a lot going on in 1719. Talk about the golden age of piracy and Blackbeard and his demise, and a lot going on. But this is something, it was almost too good to be true when I saw it. But this is just incredibly special. And it even has a little top here to protect the tobacco within.
And would that be used for like rainy days or stormy weather?
Yeah, probably stormy weather. Just an added little bonus, but I don't know, they're just so cool.
And explain, what, for instance, this part here is.
Well, a lot of these were rests, and then others had, this would unscrew. I don't want to undo it because it's so fragile, but this was also a container. Now, back in the day, there was snuff and other certain powders that, were inhaled or whatever. This little container was to hold other elements that could be added to the tobacco. And, what those elements are, that's anybody's guess. That was up to the person using the
Sounds somewhat nefarious.
Could be. But, history does repeat itself. So anyway, this I just thought was something really cool to point out, something you don't see every day. And again, I love anything that's dated.
Has to be the coolest pipe I've ever seen.
Which leads to the next one.
So on the cool factor, where does this rank?
I'm going to say because of what it is, it's right at the top until I find something that's even better. So, not to say that that is the best out there. I'm just saying until something that knocks that one out of the park, that's at the top.
That's great.
Until next time, like and follow us for more.
Welcome back to History Roundtable. Man, we have something really cool to show you today. Hey, Josh, so what do we have on that tray today?
Let's take a look. So, we've shown a few chests already, but this episode is not about this chest. This is just a beautiful little reproduction, just to house the actual item. It's actually much smaller. So we have 3 pieces to look at today, but first, it's going to be this beautiful little ring. Now, I've got 3 different rings that we're going to talk about, but specifically, this episode is about Memento Mori rings, or remembrance and death rings. This first example that we have here, this piece dates to the latter part of the 17th century and doubles as also a wax seal. It has a beautiful skull inside, kind of almost cartoony in nature, and once stamped, it has the initials RC. It's got a couple stars and a beautiful little trim around it, but it definitely would have been someone's signet ring. So could have pressed it into a letter or possibly a seal for goods and services, things of that nature. But just a beautiful example in silver, and originally probably had a more gold tone to it because in the devices, you can see remnants of gold that would have pretty much been a gilding of it. Now, do you want to talk about the second one?
Sure, why not? Let's take a look here.
We want to take a little step through time. So as this one, the first ring we were talking about, comes from that 17th century, let's jump to the 18th century and look at something from the...
So this is a really fabulous Memento Mori ring, made somewhere in the 1700s, early part of the 1700s. Beautifully crafted, unique looking character skull, which is typical. But what really makes this ring really unique is at the very bottom, you see 2 hands clasped. What this indicates is this was probably some sort of a fellowship ring. Whoever owned this may have been part of the secret society. Who knows? But that's usually indicative of that this was sort of indicated membership in some sort of a secret society group, fellowship, etc. Very, very unique, quite heavy silver ring, definitely a man's ring, and just really, really cool looking character features on the skull itself. Love these.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example.
Josh, you want to share the last one?
Absolutely. Well, this very last piece, funny enough, has our resident expert Sean Rich's initials on it. Has SR, a little skull, and it is dated 1897. So something like this would definitely have been given out at a funeral in remembrance of someone who passed away, a loved one, or a respected member of the community. It's got signs that it's mixed silver, possibly copper, some other metals, but something like this typically would have been given out at a funeral or made right after to remember the person who passed away. So we have 3 different centuries, 3 different skull rings, really shows and highlights. You know, there was a pretty big emphasis on death and remembering those who have passed and moved on to the next life.
Yeah, these Memento Mori rings are really, really collectible. And it's very hard to find original copies, specimens out there. They just aren't around. So to have 3 from different periods is pretty unique. And so Josh, what would you say, based on each one, the value would be of, starting with this one on the left?
Yeah, so starting with the piece dating to the 17th century, you're really often finding silver examples somewhere in between $2,000 and $4,000. Sometimes they will fetch even more, $5,000 to $6,000. Really depends. The middle piece, dating to the 18th century, oftentimes I see them fetching upwards of $5,000. Again, depends on the auction, depends on the person who really wants it, but $3,000 on the very low end for a rough example, $5,000 for a wonderful example. And the one that's more from the 19th century, that piece, I often see them going $300 to $800. Really depends on how bad you want it, and if it's got your initials on it, you might pay up a little bit more. So really depends on the subject matter, the size of it, but that's about where I place them.
Yeah. So for the cool factor, I'll venture to say each one. So this one, I would say cool factor, looking at the kind of the design of the skull, I'm going to say this is about an 8.5. This is just super cool to see a signet ring with that kind of detail. This one here in the middle, this guy I'm going to say is about a 9.5. For a silver Memento Mori ring, it doesn't get much better than this one. And for this guy from 1897, the fact that it's dated and it has the skull and it's got the initials, I'm going to say this is about an 8. I mean, these are just super desirable, super cool, love them all. So
yeah, so if you love these rings, there's a lot of history out there you can look into them. They even made quite a few of them in gold, and those can fetch well into the thousands, even tens of thousands for those rings. They have black enamel on them, often with full skeletons along the entire ring. So if you're interested in finding out more of those, let us know in the comments. We'd love to talk to you more about treasures over the last 300 years.
all right, guys. Well, if you like stuff like this, give us a follow and come back, and we'll see you soon.
History Roundtable, an all-new season. Don't forget to like and share your favorite episodes. And to learn more about the artifacts on the show, visit tortugatrading.com and commodorecoins.com. Till next time.